Hello everybody, I'm Axel1324 and welcome to my channel. Today I've decided that I'm going to start sharing with you guys some of the most influential games that I've played during my time as a gamer. This could be anything that I have played starting when I was very young or even more recent things that I'm playing now. Let's get into it. Alright, let's set the scene. The year is 1990. Axel is about 8 years old at this point, and I walk into a toy store. And inside this toy store, they had an arcade of sorts. It wasn't a traditional arcade with cabinets, but instead it was an arcade with a bunch of TVs and a bunch of Nintendos hooked up. And what you did is you paid to rent time on the Nintendo. You would choose a game that they had on the wall, and when it was your turn, you would play for however much time you rented. And so when I first saw this and I was in awe over what I was seeing, the very first game that caught my eye was none other than Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is the very first video game on console that I played, and this game holds a very sweet spot in my heart. And it was just fantastic when I was 8 years old. I remember seeing this game that just was full of action, and this little blue guy was shooting from his arm. I didn't know what it was called. I was 8 years old. Okay, he was just shooting from his arm, and he was fighting other robots, and it looked very sci-fi, very futuristic, and I was in love with it immediately. So I decided that that was going to be the very first game that I tried at this new arcade, and every bit of money that I got from my parents went into this arcade, and I played this game, renting it at about 15 minutes at a time, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, and I played it from beginning to end. Of course, because you can't finish Mega Man in 15 minutes, at least I can't. Every time my time was about up, I would purposely die to write down my password. And so, yeah, let's get into what I really like about Mega Man. So first things first about Mega Man that I noticed as a kid was the graphics. Man, it was amazing. You had environments all over the place. You had an ice level, you had a quick level that if you blinked, you missed it, and you had to because if you wanted to live. You had a forest level, you had an air level. Everything was great. Every enemy was colorful. Every boss was colorful. They had their own design to them. You could easily tell that Metal Man was going to shoot buzzsaws at you, and so forth and so on. It was just a great graphical game. It didn't play too great because it had a lot of slowdown when a lot of things were going on the screen, but it was amazing. The graphics on Mega Man 2 are amongst the best on the Nintendo. Capcom really did a really great job on this one, and I think I played a very good game the very first time I played it. Moving on to the presentation of Mega Man, I really liked how it was set up. You could choose what level to start in. There was absolutely no set way of tackling the level. In a way, it was almost open world-ish, if you will. I would think of it more like an open hub. Of course, everybody knows that you start with Metal Man. But when I was young, I didn't figure this out. I would play every level once from top left all the way down to bottom right. And there was really no story other than what you got at the beginning, you know, the dialogue of the story, and you got the ending. The presentation of the game was mostly done in the gaming of itself. You know, every time you got to a screen or to the edge of your screen, a new one would load. When you got to the boss, you know, everything would stop and freeze, and the boss would come down, get all hyped up, the music would come on, and it was go time. So the presentation of the game was great. The story, I understand the story of Mega Man now as I'm older, but when I was young, I really didn't care about it. All I knew was that this game was awesome. But presentation-wise, to me, was more, when I was young, was more about the colors. But yeah, it didn't take long for me to figure out the point of the game, that these guys were all bad, and I had to kill them, take their power, and eventually go fight this Dr. Wily. And I remember doing that very much, and I loved it so much. Just talking about it makes me want to go play this game. Oh man, the sound. This is where Mega Man 2 truly shines. This game's soundtrack is iconic. I could hum every song in this entire game. My favorite being getting to Dr. Wily's castle. When it just picks up, it's just, it just gets you so pumped. And this game soundtrack is really good when it's been remixed 100 times by 100 other people. Creative artists online. Some of my favorite being some of the rock and roll remixes to it. The sound was also very good. The enemies that would shoot at you. The buzzsaw sounds, the noises they would make when the bosses died. They would bloop 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 bloop. Sorry for the sound effects. I know I can load some on screen. I will. I'm just laughing at it. The sound on this game, the blasters, the different powers you would get, the way you got hit, even it sounded more like a screen hard crash almost. The sound was just phenomenal. The music, like I said, is amongst the greatest music in video games ever made for retro games. Do yourself a favor, listen to the OST of this game. It's really one of the greatest ever made. Alright, and last but not least, what matters the most in any video game is the gameplay. Gameplay will always be king. It's a video game. And Mega Man is hard. It's very, very hard. And little young 8-year-old Axel learned this the hard way. I did not get past the first level in the first 15 minutes. No, did not happen. But Mega Man, I think, is what really truly taught me how to be a gamer in the retro age. You had to memorize and try and try and try again. This game is unforgiving. If you make a mistake, you could very well die, lose your lives instantly. You're going to have bullets or projectiles coming at you, or even the bad guys themselves coming at you non-stop throughout the entire game. The level itself will come after you in Quickman's level. You had to get your jumps down. You had to get your precision jumping. Sometimes you had to get, do the little scooch, 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 scooch up to the edge on Mega Man to get him to make some jumps. And then Capcom was a big jerk and would turn off the lights. You had to kind of just guess where you were jumping. So this game is very, very hard. It is definitely one of those games that is very difficult. But the control is tight. Like if you push that jump button and you hold it down, you're going to jump higher. If you let go of it, you're going to jump not as high. When you push it, you jump. There is no excuse for missing a jump in this game. When you shoot, you can only have 3 projectiles as Mega Man. You can only shoot in triples. So if you have a really fast thumb, you can shoot triples really quick and kill bad guys really quick. And Mega Man cannot duck. There's no ducking in this game. There's no sliding yet. You're full size all the time. So you better really get good at knowing where to shoot, when to jump. This game was all about repetition, all about mastery, and all about learning weaknesses, especially for the bosses. I don't believe that I ever even today I have made it to every boss with full health. It just isn't going to happen. You're going to take hits in this game. The worst part of this game, and the worst part about a lot of older games, is that when you take a hit, you kind of lose control of your character. You move back or to the side, or you just stop moving altogether. But yeah, the gameplay is phenomenal. The boss fights are the cream of the crop for this game. The dragon, one of my favorite bosses to fight. The level is falling apart. You're being chased by a dragon, and he's coming at you. And of course, young me didn't know that you could kill him instantly with the Quickman power. I killed him with the Buster for the first time. So yeah, I could survive the dragon that long when I was younger. Not anymore. Dr. Wily was only weak to one weapon. He wouldn't even take damage unless you were using Bubble Man's weapon. So the gameplay is tight, and everybody has a weakness, and the game encourages you to experiment to find those weaknesses. And when you get to Dr. Wily, you better hope that you have enough of Bubble Man's power to face him. But man, the gameplay was phenomenal in this game. It's definitely not easy, but it feels very, very, very rewarding when you finally get through a level, when you finally beat a boss, or when you figure out that weakness on your own. Um, and especially when you beat Dr. Wily, because even knowing how to beat him, you had to get like right next to him, like within a pixel, to hit him. And so you had to know where, like you had to memorize his pattern. So you had to know how far to jump forward and then back away, because if you didn't, he was going to hit you. So yeah, this game was really great. Tight gameplay, tight controls, difficult, but very, very rewarding. Gameplay is great. Um, if you enjoy challenging older games, I heavily recommend you pick this one up. Mega Man 2. It's definitely a gem. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed listening to me rant about my memories of Mega Man 2 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. This was the very first game I ever played. Um, and as you can see, I still own it today. When I got a Nintendo, I ended up buying it, and this is my copy that I've had for quite some time now. I have probably beaten this game forward and backwards about 20 times in my lifetime. It's one of those games that I just go back to. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to me talk about my video game memories. If you don't forget to like this video and subscribe and share the video out, and definitely leave a comment. Let me know what were some of your first video games that you remember playing and why you loved them. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I'll catch you guys later.